Okay, I think I'm going to get us started with a little poll. So welcome everybody to our ACAT BCAT Transfer Registration 101 happening today. We're going to kind of walk through different things about registering, but I'm just going to launch this poll. If you can just tell us what institution you're joining us from today. Perfect. So pretty good spread, I would say. We got Red Deer, we got University of Lethbridge, Keano, College of the Rockies. Great. Thank you everybody for answering. Okay, I think I'm just going to get us right into it today. We do have a little bit of stuff to go over, but don't stress out too much. You don't have to write too many things down. There's a lot of links along the way. So we will share things as we can. Speaking of links, I'm just going to open up the chat so I can share those with you as we go through the session. Okay, so like I said, my name is Danielle, and I am a transfer student recruiter here at the University of Alberta. I would also like to introduce Rachel, who we have here from the Engineering Student Services team. You'll hear from her a little bit later on. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate everybody here on your offer of admission to the Faculty of Engineering. And today we're going to go over the necessary steps to be able to register in those classes for your engineering program. Okay, so today I'm presenting to you from Edmonton, Alberta, which is home to the University of Alberta, and the University of Alberta acknowledges that we are located on Treaty 6 territory and respect the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada, whose presence continues to enrich our vibrant community today. So a little bit about what's going to go on today. We're going to start the workshop with a little bit of a presentation and then move on to a registration demo. At the end of the demo, we're going to end with like a Q&A session. Rachel's going to go over some frequently asked questions that typically get asked, so we can kind of get those out of the way. And then any additional questions you have at the end, we will have space for that. We do kindly request that you save your questions until the end of the presentation, as they might be covered as in some of the info that we have today. We do have the Q&A function available for you to ask your questions, so we can try and get to as many of those as possible. And then like I said, I will use the chat function to kind of post those links and information that might be more beneficial to you as we go through the presentation today. So everything that we are going to be going over today is available on our website. So don't stress too much about taking too many notes for the presentation. It's all kind of available in one spot. So our second year registration page has lots of information for students entering their programs. This page also has links to other helpful registration resources throughout the left-hand menu on that page. And then you can also find your program-specific registration on that webpage and tips for registering in classes for your specific program. Let me just pop that second year registration link in the chat here. And then I'm going to pop in the program specific registration webpage as well. Some other registration resources that might be helpful to you in terms of navigating My Schedule Builder and navigating Bear Tracks and what that looks like to register in your classes. We do have some registration modules at uab.ca/reg101. These are geared towards high school students, so don't follow the information that they have in there specific to first year students, but how to navigate all is in there, so that might be helpful to you. The engineering website is at uab.ca/engineering. And then the academic calendar as well, you can follow to see your degree requirements as well. Okay, so now that you've been officially admitted to the U of A, you might be feeling excited to know what classes you're going to be in and what to expect for your specific program. So let's go through some general information together to start. So some general U of A important terms that we have is the first one is discipline. So your discipline is the primary area of study in your degree program. It's similar to a major and is also referred to as a program. So for example, mechanical engineering program is one example of a discipline or program here at the U of A. Traditional, you might hear. So we have our traditional route, which is their general regular 4-year route of studying within engineering. This means that students take the required courses for the program within a goal of graduating within 4 years. And students in the stream will take classes from September to April with their spring and summers off. Then we have our co-op route, And this is where students follow a 5-year program with a schedule of classes and paid work terms. So you're kind of going to be switching off with a total of up to 20 months of paid work experience. It does add a little bit of time to your degree. So that's why it extends to that 5 years rather than 4 years. I'm going to pass off the next few slides to Rachel to kind of go over some other general information.
For sure. So, sorry, Danielle, I also have the presentation up on my other screen here. Um, but thank you. So, all of your discipline or your program placements are final. So, what you've received right now is the discipline that you are in. If you're thinking about changing disciplines, you will actually have to reapply next year, like for the following year. And the challenge with that is that the GPAs are often considerably higher when you're applying as a transfer student. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you're looking to get some more information about career options, the Engineering Student Services has its own career connections team and resources, something called the Resource Vault, which you'll get to know. That's just like a ton of really, really good resources tailored specific to engineering students. And the in the winter semester, so in February, it's geared towards first years. We have something called first year nights, which other students like from other years are welcome to attend because they have people from the industry, the specific industries coming to do presentations and talk about their career trajectory and different opportunities. Career Connections also does events throughout the year that you just pay attention to your email. There'll be different events specific to engineering students that you're always welcome to attend. And then the General U of A Career Center is amazing as well. It's for all U of A students. They actually have days where their career coaches will come to engineering student services to do specific just like drop-ins for our faculty. The next thing is you have 6 years to complete your degree from the time of your discipline placement. So what that means is right now, so as of September 2025, you've been placed in your discipline. So that gives you until August 31st of 2031 to complete your degree. There are rarely exceptions to that, but if there was like, for example, you were struggling with some kind of health issues or if there's like family concerns, sometimes visas are an issue for students as well coming from different countries. But that 6-year timeline is pretty strict. And then generally speaking, you do have to have a 2.0 GPA at the end of every academic year to be promoted to the next year. And that's something that we in student services do check. So you'll periodically get emails. If your GPA is lower than 2.0, you'll get an email directly and an official letter through your Bear Tracks account indicating that there's some kind of concern with your academic standing. And if your GPA is a little bit lower than that, you always have the opportunity to appeal. Do you want me to talk about this slide too? I feel like I kind of went over this, but yeah, co-ops. For those of you who got co-op disciplines, congratulations. It's a really good opportunity for you to get real world experience. And unlike a lot of other programs at the U of A, this is a paid experience. So you're getting to make money in an area of your interest, and you get to connect with professionals all across the industry. Your resume is just so much better once you've had that experience, and you'll get really, really good references when you do go to apply for school post grad. And then, yeah, the traditional program. You can also look at all the different programs on the engineering academic calendar. So it lists all the various disciplines. Trad, as we call it, is the the main kind of 4-year degree, fall, winter semesters. You can apply for work experience. You can do spring, summer classes if you want to. Um, the trad route allows you to go off sequence for your classes if you want to take a lighter course load. You do have the option to do that when you're in co-op as well. But it's just a little bit less flexible because you do have to have time for the work experience terms.
Okay, amazing. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so moving on, just a few things to think about for your registration to make sure you're ready to go. So, in order for you to register in your classes, you will need to accept your offer of admission and pay your tuition deposit as soon as possible. All of this is done in your Launchpad account, and links for instructions on how to accept your offer and pay your tuition deposit. You can go to uab.ca/accept or find that information in your Launchpad account. It should all be on your offer letter on how to accept your offer. From there, once you've all done that, you should have access to go into your Beartalks account and register in classes. So registration does open on July 14th at 7 a.m. Before that point, you will see a message in Beartracks and in Launchpad that there's a hold on your account. That will be lifted at that time on July 14th, giving you access to register in those classes. We do recommend that you register in both fall and winter terms when registration opens as well. So make sure you're registering for the full year of classes at that point. Okay, so a little bit about the transfer credit. So you will be able to view the transfer credit that you will be given for the courses that you've completed at your transfer institution in Beartracks. You'll be able to see this typically under the academic records tile and then transfer credit report. Sometimes it can shift around in Beartracks as to where exactly you can see it. So definitely just search around a little bit sometimes. And then the minimum grade needed to receive transfer credit from another institution is a C minus. So a little thing to note here is if you did not receive transfer credit for all of your first year classes, you will need to come up with a new completion plan that includes retaking any of those first year classes that you did not get credit for. We do have some tip sheets available for that, and you can also speak with all of the engineering student services members and academic advisors, and they kind of help you plan out what that looks like. Um, okay, so by now at this point in the application process, you're definitely familiar with our Launchpad system. However, for registering in classes, you're going to be using our registration portal called Beartracks. So Beartracks is an online portal which gives you access to pretty much everything involved in your university career. This is your lifeline in university. This is how communications get sent to you. This is how you view your grades. This is how you view your exam schedule, all your class schedule, where your classes are, all of that fun stuff. So this is at uab.ca/Beartracks. I will type that in the chat right now. Perfect. Okay. So now when creating a timetable, you kind of want to ask yourself a couple of questions as you're going through. So some basics are what prerequisite classes are required for the class that I need to take. Don't register in classes that you don't have prerequisites for, obviously. You're going to be restricted from registering in those classes if the system doesn't recognize that you have the prerequisite. So it'll give you a big error box, but just so you know. If you don't have appropriate prerequisites and you try to register in a class and it allows you to register, you will likely be removed from that class. But most of the time you will get an error box. So just something to note there. Something else to think about is what class has the fewest offerings. Maybe in class is only offered in the fall term. Maybe it's only offered in the winter term. So make sure you're adding those into your schedule first and schedule those classes with the fewest offerings first. Do you need time to commute to campus? Maybe try to have less 8 a.m. classes if you do. If you're living on campus, pop out of bed and run over to those 8 a.m.s like I did in university. What buildings are your classes in? You might be able to get between buildings in 10 minutes, and some might be a little bit further apart. In engineering, you're pretty much all in one area, so you should be okay with that. You want to also make sure that you're registering for classes at the right campus. So this is important for any elective options you may have. Any course that starts in Beartracks with an AU is offered at our Augustana campus in Camrose. That's like an hour and a half drive away. So probably don't want to register in those ones. Something else to note is you probably want to check the language of instruction. Some courses you might see are actually in French. You don't want to take those if you can't speak French. So that's something to think about as well. Something else to look at is the class notes. So if you check out the class notes and you see that it's offered in French, probably don't take that if you can't speak French. Another thing is to check when the terms, when courses are offered. Like I said before, many courses are only offered in one term each year, so really plan your schedule around that. And then if you are considering doing spring summer courses, the course offerings will typically be available later in the winter term as to what will be offered in the spring and summer. So don't plan for spring and summer right away unless you check out the catalog. If something's been offered in the spring and summer in the past, it typically is offered again in the spring and summer in the future, but don't count on that in all cases. Okay, so some other things to consider are the different components of your classes, such as labs, lectures, and seminars. You've already built a class schedule previously at your other institutions, so I'm sure you already know what these look like. Make sure you're following your program sequence and checking out what courses are actually required as part of your program. I already added those links in earlier of the program planning and the engineering second year program page, so definitely check those out. And you can also check out the academic calendar for your program requirements too. So you definitely want to ensure that you're following the sequence outlined in your program plan. So then you'll be able to complete your program in the required timeline for the program that you're a part of. So there are some registration restrictions as well in some classes that you'll notice. These are to ensure that seats are available for on-sequence students. So if you're following your sequence and you can register in course because it's full, definitely reach out to Eng Advising and see what we can do for that one. And our engineering student services team can help you mostly with your schedule for sure. And then if you do choose to go off sequence for your program, you kind of do so at your own risk. We're not really able to assist students that go off sequence with full courses if they're not following what's outlined in your program. So definitely use those program planners that I linked in that first couple of links there. And then you'll be able to kind of figure things out pretty easily. I'll add that link again here. Another program planner link in this one. There you go. Okay. So now that we've gone over some general tips and tricks on building your timetables, let's kind of go through a step-by-step demo of what that looks like in BearTracks, how to find your courses and things like that. So the first thing that you're going to have to do is to log into BearTracks, and you're going to go to uab.ca/BearTracks and select single sign-on. At that point, once you click there, you're going to enter your CCID and your password. Your CCID, everybody has one. It's typically a combination of your first and last name. You can find it on your offer letter typically in your Launchpad account. Please keep in mind that the CCID is given after applying to the U of A, so you should already have one even if you haven't accepted your offer or anything like that. And then you don't have to include the @ualberta.ca, excuse me, for this login. The @ualberta.ca is for email login. So that's something to keep in mind there. And then the password for this one is typically your Launchpad password or whatever you've associated with your CCID if you've already changed your password around. Okay, so once you log into BearTracks, this is where you're going to enter into your My Schedule Builder tile. And you can be able to add classes to your shopping cart, enroll in all classes once the enrollment date opens, validate classes, move semesters, all of that kind of fun stuff. Okay. So we're going to start on the fall term that you're in. Mine shows last year's because these are some screenshots from last year, but yours obviously will show fall 2025 and then winter 2026. So you want to click on the fall or the term that you want to enroll in. And then this is kind of the page that pops up. You can kind of see that my search history here shows that I have this one class in there. But if you haven't searched anything yet, then it's not going to pop up with anything right away. So that's something to think about there. In that search bar, you're just going to search whatever class that you need to add in. Check out the different times that it's available. You can kind of toggle at the bottom. Yeah, you can kind of toggle at the bottom there. I might be able to actually open my schedule builder. Give me 2 seconds. And then we can just walk through it together. Are you still able to see my screen, Rachel? Wrong tab.
It's what? Yeah, it's loading to your Campus Solutions now.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Okay, so your tiles are going to look a little bit different than mine. Okay, so here we go. We have fall 2025 available. So we can click on that one. Now this is what it's going to look like when it pops up right away. Now I don't have all of the fancy tools that you're going to have because I'm not a student at the U of A. So mine might look slightly different once we get a little bit further in here. So I'm just going to type in a first year engineering class because those are the ones that are in my head all the time. Okay, so Eng 130 I pulled up here. So these are, this is how we can see what class options are available, okay? So you can kind of choose which lecture you want to be a part of. If you want to see what different options there are. So we have 5 results here. So the times change when we click this top section. It goes through the different class kind of combinations that we have available to us. Okay, so those are all the ones that are open. And then if you want to see, because sometimes there's alternating lab weeks, you can see what it changes on different weeks, what that looks like there. So this is definitely the number one thing that you want to look at. In here is where you're going to see the class remarks. You can see here that there are 254 seats taken. There's certain reserved seats for certain people. It's restricted to first year engineering students, and limited seats are available for second year students that require this class as well. Now, something that I do like to add as well is on this left-hand side, you can pop down and expand this section and see even more of those class remarks because sometimes certain lectures are reserved for certain people. And if you're not part of one of those lectures, you can just unselect that one as one of your options. Okay. And if you see all these ones that are full, you can just remove all of the full ones. They're not going to show as options anyways, but you can just remove those if you don't want them as part of what's going to be searched for kind of thing. Okay. Now, if you're like, oh, I don't want to add that class actually, just hit the trash button and it goes away. Okay. Now I'm going to pop back here. Okay. So we already went through this one. And perfect. Okay. Did you see that top toggle there? Oh, that's course legend. There is a top toggle on my schedule builder where you can actually filter full classes. So if you're trying to view classes that are full to add to your watch list, you can add that on and you'll see all of the classes that are full as well. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so there's a couple different ways that you can kind of search for classes. And kind of figure out your schedule. So one way of adding your class to schedule is by browsing the course catalog and then kind of plugging that into my schedule builder and then doing it that way. Or you can also search classes directly in Bear Tracks. So not going into my schedule builder, just going into that manage classes tab, and you can search classes that way through the catalog. So this is what the university catalog looks like. And you can kind of browse the different courses that are offered if you're looking for elective options, if you're looking for something along those lines. This is a great thing to kind of see what is offered at the U of A. And it kind of provides descriptions on all of the courses. So I can add this link in here as well. So this is the second way to search for classes is using the search class feature. So in there, again, you can just search a class and enroll right away. So if you're searching for classes and your enrollment date's already open, you can just search, hit enroll right away, and you're good to go. If your enrollment date's not open, you can go into my schedule builder and right now start planning your schedule. Just add them to your shopping cart, and you're not going to be able to enroll until Monday, but they can all be ready to go. So if you go in right now or tonight or tomorrow, whatever that looks like for you, as long as you have access to Bear Tracks by accepting and paying that tuition deposit, and access to my schedule builder that way, then you're going to be able to kind of plan out your schedule ahead of time. And when 7 a.m. on the 14th rolls around, just hit that enroll button on all of those classes. Okay, so like I said, once a class has been added to a shopping cart, you can then enroll in the class. So in order to do that, I don't have this function on my schedule builder like I was showing you before, so I kind of have to show you this way. So at the very bottom, once you have all of the courses laid out in your My Schedule Builder, you have like 5 classes on the left-hand side in that list. There's 5 classes showing on the right in the calendar view. You can click Get This Schedule at the bottom, and then I'll make sure all of the actions are changed to Add to Cart. And then once they're changed to Add to Cart, you can click Do Actions at the bottom as well. And then all of these will be in your enrollment course cart. And then once you have that registration date opening on the 14th, you can just hit enroll doing the same function. So like I said, get the schedule again is what you'll click, and then make sure they have checkout enroll as part of it, and then do actions. And then you will get kind of a pop-up that says added. That means you're successfully enrolled in the class. If you're not successfully enrolled in the class, it will show an error message and it'll show you why typically you got an error message. So if you have an error message that you don't understand, just send us an email and we can kind of help you figure that out. But typically it's due to restrictions on the class, you not meeting prerequisites or something along those lines. Okay, a couple more additional features. So the first additional feature is our drop a class feature. So this drop a class feature can be used when you want to remove a class that you've already enrolled in from your schedule, and you can drop a class from your schedule without financial or academic penalty until the fall registration deadline of September 15th. So make sure you kind of have everything sorted out by that date. If a class is full, then you can add that to your watch list and receive a notification when a seat becomes available. Now, this does not guarantee you a spot in the course, but it does allow you to receive a notification by email typically as to when a seat will become available for you. Now, the notification system goes out to everybody who is on the watch list for that class. So you want to be on your email if you're really trying to get into that class, and make sure you get onto Bear Tracks as soon as that notification comes to you, to have the best chance of getting in there. It is a first come, first serve basis, so it's up to you to kind of log in and get that right when the notification comes to you. Something else, if you want to swap a class with another one, drop a class or withdraw from a class after the add drop deadline, all of those functions are also done via the Manage Classes tile in Bear Tracks, not in My Schedule Builder. And then there's also a lot of detailed information for how to utilize these functions. In that Reg 101 module, a lot of how to navigate these systems is in there. And we also have a general registration page at uab.ca/reg, which will be helpful to you as well. I'll pop that in here. Perfect. Okay, so another just showing you where that drop a class function is in Bear Tracks. And from there, you kind of choose the term that you want to drop a class from. And this can be done both in My Schedule Builder and Manage Classes, but realistically, doing it in Manage Classes is the best option. Then there's some instructions that pop up for you when you're dropping a class. And then it brings you to a list of classes that you're currently enrolled in. You're going to use that check mark to select the one that you want to drop. And then in this case, you're going to review that that's the class for sure that you want to drop, add in a reason for dropping it, and then hit submit to drop the class. Now, as a Faculty of Engineering student, you also have access to an academic advisement report in Bear Tracks. And this report shows exactly what requirements have been met with courses that you have successfully completed with your courses and your courses in progress, as well as requirements that are still outstanding for you to complete as part of your degree program as well. So you can find that under academic requirements. And this is also available to you typically after your enrollment date and payment of your tuition deposit and all of that kind of fun stuff. Sometimes the academic advisement report can take a little bit longer to be available on your BearTracks account. It totally depends on what is happening in the back end of BearTracks. So sometimes it's not available right away. Give it a little bit of time. It should be in there around August, I would say at the latest. So the report's going to look similar to this, in that there's going to be some drop-down sections for each requirement. And then the sections are going to show you which completed or in progress course that you have were used to satisfy that requirement, or if something has not yet been satisfied. Okay. So it kind of looks like that. Typically, you can see if the section isn't satisfied, the drop down is expanded. If it's been satisfied, the drop down kind of closes with those little arrows on the left-hand side. Okay. And then viewing your schedule. You've created this beautiful schedule. You need to figure out where your classes are, how to get there, all of that kind of fun stuff. So to view your schedule after enrolling, you can go into the Manage Classes tile on the BearTracks homepage. Go to My Schedule, Calendar. You might need to scroll down a little bit in the left-hand navigation to find it. And then you can select the term that you want to view your schedule for, hit Continue, and then this will be filled with all of your wonderful classes that you're enrolled in for the fall term. Obviously, we can enroll in classes, so we can't show you exactly what that looks like, but everybody's schedule is different anyways, so we don't want to give you something to go off of. And then change term, you can change to the winter term to view your winter term as well. Okay, now we're going to go through some common questions. I'm going to pass this section off to Rachel. She can kind of expand on some of the things that commonly get asked at Engineering Student Services. And then all of the questions that you have burning in your brain right now can be saved until the end of this section, okay? Go for it, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you so much, Danielle. Great job with explaining all of that. We get so many questions about everything Danielle just explained. So if you have questions or want to review this recording, please do. Like Danielle did such a great job at explaining that step by step. And just the more comfortable you get with BearTracks, the easier this will become. So yeah, let's talk about some common questions. We get a lot of questions about AP or IB transfer credit. What do you do if you don't want to take a full course load? Do you have to follow the program plan? What happens if you still need some of those first year courses? I'll also discuss the differences between the various mechanical engineering programs. And what happens if you didn't get into the discipline you wanted? Can we change it? I kind of discuss that a little bit, but we'll go into more detail. And then, yeah, how do you find your classes? So, AP IB transfer credits. If you were an AP or IB student, you can still be reassessed and use those transfer credits for second year complementary studies courses. So, all disciplines have something called a complementary studies elective. And it's a good idea to use if you do have those credits, use them towards that requirement. And then that's one less class off of your plate and one less class that you need to pay for. We recommend that you decline credits that overlap with the math science courses, just because like a lot of these classes you do have to take, you do need the prerequisites. And even if you have that AP equivalent, depending on what the faculty says, it might not be approved anyways. So yeah, we'd recommend using those transfer credits for the complementary studies electives. So full course load or not, there's a few things to consider before taking less courses than outlined in your program. Like I said before, you have 6 years to complete your degree after being placed into discipline. So 6 years from now for you would be 2031, so August 31st, 2031. And yeah, you do want to make sure that you have enough time to complete the classes. So we do say to students, like, if you want to lighten your course load, absolutely do it. Sometimes, like, the course load that's prescribed can be a lot. So if you have the prereqs, if you are comfortable with moving things around, absolutely go ahead and do it. You're always welcome to come to advising too, to get us to just like look over the schedule that you've created and give you approval. If you're in a co-op program, you do really want to be mindful of the timelines because your work experience terms are already going to be preset. Um, it sometimes can be a little bit more challenging for co-op students to go off sequence because, as Danielle said earlier, some classes are only offered once in the academic year. So if that happened to be one of the classes that you didn't take, you may have to wait a full calendar year to take that class again. And it especially gets more challenging, let's say, if that class was a prereq for a bunch of your other classes. So that's just something to be mindful of. Again, not impossible to lighten the course load though. Okay, what do you need to do if you still need to take some first year classes? That's really no problem. Don't feel bad about that at all. We do reserve some seats in the first qualifying year, first year student groups. We do reserve a handful of seats in each of those lecture sections. So what you're going to do is you'll click on the reserve capacity in Bear Tracks, and then you'll be able to actually see if there are those seats available to you. Yeah, and then you can, so yeah, click on reserve capacity for your program, and then you're going to click on the class number and go to class availability. You should be able to see that on the desktop. So that's located in the class availability tab, but on your phone, it's going to be under the reserve capacity link. But like I said, get really, really, really comfortable with Bear Tracks, play around with it, click on everything, click on all the drop down menus, just because it's going to make your experience a lot nicer. Okay. So what's the difference between all the different mechanical engineering programs? So MECI, as we like to call it, mechanical engineering is our largest program. So to fit so many students within mechanical, we have a lot of different plans. If you've been admitted into mechanical traditional plan 1 and your program is the regular traditional sequence of fall, winter, fall, winter, if you've been admitted, that's what your sequence will be. Sorry, I'm misreading that. So if you're in MECI Trad Plan 1, it's just the regular academic school year. You're not going to be scheduled for spring, summer classes. If you've been admitted into an alternate plan or Trad Plan 2, where you're on an accelerated program, you will be required to do spring, summer terms, and you'll finish your program early. For co-op specifically, so co-op plan 1, 2, and 4, they're all actually just the same. It's just the work experience terms that are sequenced differently. So if you're in MECI co-op plan 1, you'll go out on a work term for 8 months, starting in the spring, summer of, it's probably going to be 2026, I think. Yeah. And then if you're in MECI co-op plan 2, you'll go out on a work term for the winter of 2026. All of the trad and co-op plans have the exact same academic requirements. They're just in different orders. The exception is the biomed stream plan 3. In that stream, there are a handful of extra courses that you'll take and a specialized work term related to biomedical engineering. So for mechanical, it really, really is a good idea to stay on sequence as best as possible. You're really only guaranteed registration in the courses that are on sequence with your plan. So if you do go off sequence, you could risk delaying your graduation time and your ability to register in certain classes. Okay. What happens if you didn't get into the discipline that you wanted? Can you change it? I kind of talked about that briefly. Sorry, my dog is whining in the background. I hope nobody can hear that. So your discipline program assignment was based on your program admission factor, which is competitive, and your program rankings on the program selection form. So we don't really advertise any specific GPAs because it actually all depends on what everybody else's GPA is getting into those programs. So to be considered for admission into a different discipline, you have to complete at least 8 courses in your current discipline over the course of 2 terms. and have a minimum GPA of 3.0. And then you can apply for your program next fall, so fall of 2026. Again, this is not recommended, but it's not impossible. Okay, so talking about the career options, if you didn't get into your discipline, I would take the time to learn more about your program using all the information that we provide from the engineering career connections team in the resource vault. I think Danielle gave that link already. I was going to say too, all of the links that Danielle has been sending in the chat are super valuable, and I would recommend bookmarking them all right now today. Just because all the questions that you potentially could have, even just over the course of your degree, will be answered by all those amazing resources. We would also recommend that you check out the Discover Your Anything Exploring Options page to learn more about the different career paths and the options available to students in your unique discipline. And then read through the discipline-specific career information for your program. It gives you a high-level overview of different career options available, including key industries, different areas of research, and then a list of a few different companies that hire graduates from that program. And then, like I was saying earlier, the U of A's General Career Center also offers a ton of development opportunity. They've got workshops. You can go see them one-on-one. They'll review your resume, your cover letter. They're super, super helpful. So definitely don't sleep on that resource. Okay, moving on to your physical classrooms. How do you get to class? So once you're registered in all of your courses, you'll follow the steps that Danielle mentioned to view your schedule. And then, yeah, you can go to Manage My Classes, click on My Calendar Schedule, and then you'll be able to see the classes and all the information included. And under Room, there'll be an acronym for the classroom and the building. So this example shows Maine as the classroom location hasn't been updated yet, but it often will get updated before the start of the semester. Okay, and again, you can see it by viewing your schedule this way as well. If you don't see the classroom right away, again, it will be updated. Just keep in mind like all the different faculties and space, and like there's whole teams that do scheduling for the university. So just be patient. And then, yeah, you can view the class location right under the course name. So this example is not an engineering schedule, but you can see like the Math 101 lab is in CAB 273, and the lecture is in CCS L1 160. So for that lecture, the L1 means level 1 in room 160. So this is great. There's tons of acronyms, and as you'll see, there's like all kinds of fun ones. CAB, think there's a SAB, sub, CSIS, hub. They're all acronyms for all the different locations and the different buildings on campus. So and I again recommend bookmarking this link, the maps. You can search, it's interactive. You can put in the acronym for the class and it'll show you exactly where it is. Make sure that you're selecting North Campus for all of these classes. Or if you are attending any classes in French, Campus Saint-Jean, just click down and see the Campus Saint-Jean map as well. Then you're going to click on the menu in the left corner. And then you can click on the building to select it, then click on the directions button. You can choose a starting point for walkable, drivable, or cycling directions. I usually just choose like a main building that I know really well, like the Students' Union building sub as a starting point. It's really easy to find sub on campus if ever you're lost. And then I would choose walking directions basically because you'll be walking between your classes. And then you can click update to show a route between the two buildings. All right, back to Danielle.
Perfect. Thanks, Rachel. Okay, so that was probably a lot. Everybody's probably like, oh my goodness, that's so much information. I don't know what to do with that. We're gonna go over some key dates again. Okay, so registration is gonna open for you on July 14th at 7 a.m. Like I said earlier, you can add all of your classes to your enrollment cart right now, and then just click enroll when it opens on that date, okay? Um, so please do complete your registration as early as possible, as some programs will require specific course selections and course sections to avoid your time conflicts. And students who are admitted to a discipline do have priority registration on second year classes. So ensure that you register in classes as soon as you possibly can to get the best schedule possible for you and your situation. August 30th to the 31st is typically our orientation time. You can check out orientation online if you want to be a part of that and register for orientation. I think the Faculty of Engineering does their own orientation as well if you want to be a part of that too. September 2nd is the first day of classes. Make sure you're on campus for September 2nd. And then September 15th is that add drop deadline that I talked about earlier. So definitely make sure that you have your schedule in place by that time. I'm going to add in the orientation link in here if anybody's interested in orientation and what that looks like. So if you require help beyond today, because I know it was a lot, you probably want to redigest some information, go through some more today. All of those links I added in there, like Rachel said, bookmark every single one of them. You're going to use them now throughout your degree, in 2 months, in 6 months, all of that fun stuff. So definitely just make sure you're utilizing those resources. And then when you have questions, ask. We are here to help you. I'm here to help you before you even start classes. Rachel and her team are here to help you once you're in your degree and you're grinding through it all to figure out what is best for you in your situation. There will be a recording of this presentation uploaded. Last year's might be on there still right now on our on-demand webpage, which is essentially the exact same thing because it hasn't changed in a year. The dates are going to be different, so don't follow those dates. But all the other information is the exact same. So if you want to check that out before I have time to get it uploaded to the website, because it's probably not going to be uploaded before the 14th, to be perfectly honest. That's something to check out there and then utilize those other resources, okay? Now, that is pretty much all of the information that we have here for you today. I'm going to put up this slide here because it has the general webpage, the advising webpage, and the email to contact me and our team for help with registration. Realistically, though, I would reach out to End Advising for more information. We can go back. It's at the bottom of this page, so I'll leave this one up for you. Um, Now, if there's any questions and you have access, you should have access to the Q&A function. If anybody doesn't, please let me know. If there's any questions, please use this time to ask whatever you have, and we can try and help as much as possible. If you have no questions, this is all of the information we are giving to you today. Feel free to go and try and make the schedule on your own. Give that time to yourself. And we are so appreciative that you were able to join us. And thank you to Rachel as well for joining us and giving us some great information. But we'll just leave it open for questions and we'll hang out. Do the long teacher pause. Again, like I said, if you got all the information you needed and you have no questions, feel free to head out. This is all we had to give you today. Yeah, the chat is disabled, but pop your questions in the Q&A function just like you did here, Brad, if you have any questions. Okay, if a course is only showing up in the winter term, but it's mentioned as a fall term course in the calendar guide, should we assume the calendar might not be accurate and plan it as a winter course? That's a good question. I don't know if you have an answer for that one,
Yeah,
Rachel.
I totally have an answer. So make sure that you're looking at the correct calendar year. So for you guys, it would be the academic calendar of the 2025-2026 year. Do not click on any other calendar. Yeah, that's like the main authority on what classes you should take. So the calendar should be correct. If you're noticing that there is an issue with when the class is offered and it's not, and if it's not showing on the correct calendar, send us an email. And I would always recommend sending like little screen grabs in your email as well. And the other thing too, when you're emailing us, always put your student ID number. So that 7-digit ID, just put that somewhere in the email because then we can look you up and give you really tailored advice. Um, but if back to the main question, if it's offered in the winter and you have the prereqs for it, you can totally take that class. Like you're not limited to taking classes just because it says that it's being offered at a specific time. But typically if it's not showing up, there's an issue with like the information. So number one, always follow the correct calendar year.
Okay, another one.
Yeah.
Wondering if I would be behind if I need to take two courses from first year. Should I ask advising for help with getting the schedule?
Not real. I mean, yes, you can totally ask advising for help anytime. Like, please come to drop in. We're available every weekday except Thursdays, but that's not an issue at all. Like, a lot of students are in the same boat. So, prioritize enrolling in those two classes first. Like, really make sure that those two classes are done. And then I would also check all of the second year requirements and just see what those two classes are prerequisites for. There is a resource, actually, I'll find it right now, Danielle, and put it in the chat, the Eng program visualizer. It's a fun little tool that one of the profs has created. Um, it's not always accurate though. It's an interactive tool that allows you to see what the prereqs for different classes are, and it really like routes out the degree requirements visually. But it's not always accurate. So just make sure that you're cross-referencing this with, again, your year's discipline. Yeah, let me just put this in the chat. But this is really nifty. Like if you click on it, what it's a prereq, like there'll be little arrows and there's like a dotted line. Really fun to play with. I think you do have to be logged onto your U Alberta's Google account though for this to work.
I'm just going to pop in the chat here too, the academic calendar for your calendar year for all of the different engineering options. So you can figure out based on your discipline, which one you're going to be a part of too. That might help with your registration process. Any other questions? Am I still able to take a spring summer course despite being a part of the co-op program?
So it depends. If if you have classes scheduled during that time, then obviously you're going to be taking those spring summer classes. If it's not, if you're doing co-op during those spring and summer semesters, then technically the answer is no. The exception to that rule, though, is if you have written permission from your employer to take that class, then that is something that we can approve, right? Because you would be taking time off of work to be at school. One other like fun little loophole that people use is enrolling in an online asynchronous class during a co-op work term. You do still need to have your employer's permission just because we want them to be aware of what you're up to. But it's really nice because then you can knock out one of those complementary studies electives or ITS, that's impact of technology on society electives. and like do that in your own time with your own on your what am I trying to say, at your own pace.
Anything else anybody has a question on? It is a bit overwhelming. I totally get it. It's a lot. It's a lot all at once. Like we both said, I mean, Rachel had great advice. Once you have access to my schedule builder and your Bear Tracks managed classes, just go and click around and do whatever. It's going to be a lot, but once you figure out the system, it's way easier. I also found it so overwhelming when I was a first year student at the U of A. Like it was crazy. I don't think I figured it out until like my third year, and then I was like, I got this. But it's because I had all of that time to play around in the system. So definitely take that time while you can. You don't have to register right away at 7 a.m. on the 14th. That's just when it opens. That's when you're going to get your best chance of classes that you really want as part of your schedule, and the times that you really want them at. But you will still have opportunity to kind of fit those in if you do it like the day after or later that afternoon or whatever that looks like. So play around, try and add things to your cart so it makes it a little bit easier for you. The calendar link that I just added in there will lay things out pretty easily in terms of requirements. And then once you're in Bear Tracks, you have that academic advisement report and things like that. If you go through it and you're like, oh my God, I just need like a starting point, reach out. I'm sure somebody will be able to help you. We are here to help. So just let us know if you need that extra support. Okay, for choosing complementary studies elective, can I choose any of the electives listed in the calendar? Just wondering, since some of them say 3-0-0 and thought there might be some restrictions.
So the numbers have to do with like the hours allotted to that class. So it's like 3 classroom hour, like lecture hours, and then the other two numbers would be like if there was seminar hours and lab hours. These things are counted. It used to be a lot more important, but the reason they have these listed is because the U of A's engineering program is an accredited Canadian engineering university. And so with that accreditation, there comes like really specific things in terms of like information that we have to provide to students and then things that you as students have to do, like requirements that you have to complete. So when you go to the academic calendar and you select complementary studies electives, there should be a giant list, and they're all usually classes that are not science or engineering or math related, because it's exactly that. It's a complementary studies. So it's like your Psych 104, which is introductory psych, sociology 100, there's history classes, there's gender classes, there's all kinds of really interesting classes. I would just suggest choosing classes that one fit with your schedule, and that you're actually interested in, because you'll guarantee do a lot better in these classes if you like the content. Typically, these classes are pretty easy, though. Most of them are like 1 or 200 levels. And yeah, most engineering students do really, really well.
Okay, any last questions, comments, concerns before we close the session for the evening?
Something that I also wanted to mention, Danielle, is that I would really recommend that you all go to the orientation. Even if you feel like it's a little dorky or whatever, just go. It'll be a great chance for you to physically see the layout of campus, and just a good chance to meet other students in the same boat and ask any questions.
Yeah, I found orientation super helpful. You can kind of figure out where your classes are ahead of time, figure out where your buildings are ahead of time, how to kind of navigate campus the best way possible. Sometimes they give you like tips and tricks on like study areas too in orientation. So um, definitely something to attend for sure. I'll give you all 2 more minutes for any questions, and then we'll shut it down for the evening. I know it's overwhelming, so probably can't even think of questions right now. But if anything comes up after this, like I said, the recording will go up. There's probably last year's recording still. I'll type in our on-demand web page. There's like the first year engineering registration for sure. There's a video on there. You can just go through that if you're looking for like how to navigate the system again and you want like a visual on that. But again, don't follow exactly what they're telling you because it's going to be very different for you. Um, yeah, good resource for that. Okay, well, no more questions are coming in. Thank you everybody for staying as long as you did, and thank you, Rachel, again for giving us lots of great information. Um, Good luck to everybody with course registration, and we look forward to seeing you on campus in the fall. And good luck with all your classes.